We are so excited.
and enlightened.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
Yes.
We wanted, first of all, to thank you for having us here, no? Yuri, Pao, the Slovenian presidency, all the network, and all our great friends who are up there somewhere, because we are quite blinded by light.
Yeah.
And it's a convenient situation, no? The emotion is maybe a little less.
Also, being here in presence, as you said, it's something and it is precious. Yeah.
And here in the back, you can see a big digital heart. It's not only the logo of our initiatives. It's also something which we think we need profoundly in our present and future lives. Digital technologies as a way to obtain expanded sensibilities, no? Not only among ourselves, no? Not only with husband and wife, friends, neighbors,
Institutions.
institutions, but also with the entire planet. No? So we ask this question: no? How can artificial intelligence and technologies in general help us to develop these sensibilities? No? Maybe you've seen a lots of courses online, offline, about open data, digital fabrication, but where is a course about love? No? That will be a great question to ask. If you're curious, these are our websites, and if you open the map, you will see a number of projects which we currently do with national and international institutions, universities, research center, of course, the European Commission. And over the years, we have formalized these topics into a phrase, nuovo abitare, new living, for which we have a very simple and straightforward definition. Nuovo abitare is a consistent part of the human condition, where so many of our rights, liberties, opportunities to relate to one another, to know the world, to express ourselves, passes through the mediation of data and computation. For us, this is the new living, no? And the new living takes form under some principles, no? Some principles which, as things are rapidly changing in our, so for example, this is on the left is our research center, and on the right we will find our non-profit. In our non-profit, which leads the path, since these things that we are talking about change so rapidly, each year we rediscuss this principle. So As some times ago they were 9, now they are 11. Next year, who knows? No, and it's an important part of the concept. But let's start. We thought that the best thing we could do is to show you these principles and let you imagine them through some project, which will show very synthetically. No? So shall we start with the first?
Yes, and I would say also to connect with the words of Yuri and Pau, it is very important that these principles on one side are evolving. As the manifesto, it is not so possible to create a stable manifesto in an ever-changing times. We need to deal constantly with reality. And on the other hand, all these principles will be today for you embedded in artworks and projects. And so in somehow this is why we are so comfortable, we feel so home to, and we are so, we thank you for opening the conference because really art can help us in this changing time. So the first principle of the new living, or if you want in Italian, the nuovo abitare, is this. Enormous quantities and qualities of data are necessary to our survival on planet Earth. Nowadays, we deal with complex phenomena. It was very true before the pandemics, but after the pandemics, we also with our body and with our daily life, we are confronted with this very fact. And there are two other important words. We not only live in a complex world, we live in a world which is globalized and hyper-connected. And so in this complex, globalized and hyper-connected worlds, the phenomena, the world we live in, we can access and we can perceive and we can understand our reality through the mediation of these quantities and qualities of data. So if in our reality we are not able to access to these quantity and qualities of data, we have two main risks. On one hand, perhaps we will be not able to read our world. On the other hand, perhaps we will not be able to... it's all okay? Oh, sorry. What's that?
No, just a background thing. The watch says 12 minutes, but we were told that we had 45.
Okay, so
it's okay.
If not, we rush it very fast. No, okay.
Let's maybe make it 30.
Okay. No, I will go fast. Right. Okay. So second risk. And please reflect, not being able to read our reality. Okay, this is why we talk about survival. If you don't read your reality, perhaps you risk things, really. So the other things, rights, freedom, liberty, duties, to access and to benefit of what we conceive as liberty, duties, and rights. Also, we need the mediation of enormous quantity and quality of data. What you see here is Obiettivo, is an artwork and a research project, 2019. It is a lamp which is fed by data about the extreme poverty in the world. This lamp will never stop lighting up until the threshold of the number of people on planet Earth that live in this condition, extreme poverty, will not go down a certain number. Okay, so it is a constant alarm that help us through lights, sounds, what you see, no, emitting light and sounds will communicate instantly to us if we live in a world where poverty is changing and how it is changing. So it can really help us to perceive a complex phenomenon and to read our reality and perhaps to take action.
Who knows?
Who
Let's hope
knows?
so.
Let's see.
So this is principle number 2. Data is not what it used to be. Because in the time of industry, data was mainly useful because it could be counted. Now, in the age of networks, counting data is not so useful anymore. It is more useful to find shapes in data, recurrent shapes, recurrent forms, and that's what AI does, no? And this is a very important concept, no? Because there's so much data, so different data, that such level of interconnectedness, very difficult word to say, makes counting data virtually useless. This, which you see, is a project we did with Bologna's city administration, in which you are seeing the shapes within the city of the impacts of their policies about citizen collaboration, no? Transformed into art, no? And so you see how much this, even without labels, no? How much this perspective helps to be able to find recurrent patterns and forms in data, in cities, in the built environment, and wherever data occurs. And following up is the third principle, the need for new alliances with computational agents, because actually we don't have any sensibilities as human beings for all this data which we need to survive. Therefore, we need to be able to establish these new alliances with technologies and in specifics with these new computational agents, no? Different forms of alliances. Because these computational agents can help us transform and translate these enormous quantities and qualities of data into things that are more suitable for our senses, our sensibilities, language, colors, music, no? For example, this is a project which we did in Turin with the partnership of a beautiful archive of the 1900s, il Polo del Novecento, which unites several cultural institutes from all over.
In Italy.
In Italy. No?
Yeah,
Sì, sì, sì. And we brought artificial intelligence into the archive, not only to develop new tools for the archivists, no? Which lived in the realm of usefulness, no? but also to change and evolve and transform the role of the archive in society. The archive immediately became more accessible. You could not only search it by keywords or categories, you could search it by color, by shapes, by concepts instead of only keywords. No, you could search it by characters that were in the images of the archive, and we brought it even more in society by using AI as a companion to some participatory projects in which, for example, the one we are most affectionate to, in which the elderly of Turin were considered as natural experts of the 1900s, no? Because when they looked at an image in the archive, they could say, here in this image, outside the frame, there was a bar, and
or Mario,
or a character, or some person, no? And the young generation, the students, helped the elderly people to collaborate with artificial intelligence to enrich the archive. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. So, new alliances.
And so, principle number 4. Data as a common ground. Computation as translation to establish new relationship. You see that it is an escalation, if you want. We already said new alliances. We already said the word translation. And so what is happening today, and it is, and we can see it all the time, if we look for a moment our society, is that we, of course, as human beings, we constantly produce data. We know it, we don't know it, even working and being filmed by a CCTV camera in the street, we are producing data, so in conscious and unconscious ways. But not only us, also different type of actors in societies nowadays can produce data. Again, through the mediation of digital technology, sensors, and artificial intelligence, even a city, even this event is producing data. Even a forest, or a tree, or animals, or the sky. So, new type of actors can today produce data. This is why data have become a common ground between these very different actors that can today relate. So we wanted to, and this is why we can establish new relationships, or we could, because it's not said that this is really happening in our society, meaning that we have a big opportunity connecting with the sea, connecting with an entire city, connecting with our condo. Imagine how much larger or expanded can be the realm of our relationship. But do we do that? Are we allowed to do that? We don't know. We think there is so much to do about it. And so, for example, to embody this fourth principle, we want to talk to you about an experiment we did in 2020, which was inspired by the condition of pandemics. The experiment, which is, as always we do, between art and science, art and research, is called data meditation. We felt the experience of lockdown, not only lockdown, but the way data was used during this lockdown was very hard for us. And we felt a communicational environment, many times based on military approach, So we were really bombed by data, and we asked ourselves, and we were isolated, the lockdown. You know, we asked ourselves why in culture we always had this way of living through isolation to elevate people, for example, through meditation, through spiritual practices. So we reinvented a ritual through which people can use data and computation, first of all, to express themselves. Second of all, to observe themselves. Third of all, to establish new relations and to find the order. So this is how, in 2020, we created data meditation, a way for people to create new form of computational empathy, to connect and to express in autobiographical way. We are very happy about it because we did it as an experiment, and now we are doing it nowadays, in this very moment, with the Maxi Museum in Rome, and this week, at the end of the week, we will start the first data meditation for the environment. So a way for us to observe our relation through environment and climate change using data, and at the end of the experiment, connect through a new ritual. And so also in the New Living, we don't want anymore only art. We also, something that we are working on is art, research, science, data computation, but also rituals, way for people to connect, to create new ways of doing things together. This is something that it has become in the New Living an evolution of our own practices. And so the fifth, very connected principle, from extractive models to generative models. Okay, so this is also very important. Why? Because all around us, we have seen data as a new extractive phenomenon. Even in the language, it is very common to say that data is the new oil. Okay, extraction is not something that we are told, you know, is not, we can extract, but we cannot only extract. We have to be able to build new type of imagination around data, which are also generative. So to embody this principle in 2020 again, because it has become very important also for us to create generative model in this world where data is so diffused and spread. In Palermo, we created this artificial digital plant. And this plant is animated through data. You see lights, but also sounds. And this digital plant communicates the state of well-being of the Oreto River, the river of Palermo. Where is the difference? We could have put just sensor on the river to extract the data from the river and to feed the plants with the same lights, with the same sounds, with the same results. But where is the difference? Instead of doing this A path, we choose a B path. The B path is that we created a new social role. So today, in Palermo, the custodians of water, those people you see in the image, exist. And they are people that took the responsibility to feed the plants, going to take data on the river, to generate data on the river. So again, not a social role, a new ritual, and a new possibility to connecting with nature and doing something very ancient, going through the river, but now mediated through data and computation.
Absolutely. And also passing on the knowledge of the ritual, which is very important.
Social practice, yeah.
Absolutely. And then, cyber diversity, data and computational cyber diversity. As in agriculture, having a single definition of anything diminishes the resilience of any systems. For example, let's take the protagonist of this event, artificial intelligence. When we say artificial intelligence, most of us directly think about some form of deep neural network, no? And this is perfectly okay, but it's not a given, no, that artificial intelligence can only be this thing, no? We feel that taking in consideration multiple species of artificial intelligence and in general of technologies creates a better ecosystem, no? A better informational, communicational, technological ecosystem. And this is an existing example. This in the image is Antithesis. It's a love story between an artificial intelligence and a plant. It is beautiful. It's designed to fight climate change through love. And it has a characteristic. It mimics the plant. As you all know, artificial intelligence, sooner or later, has this moment in which it is trained using an enormous quantity of data. This artificial intelligence does not. It grows one data at a time, just like the plant. Our idea is that this brings a substantial difference. For example, let me make just two examples. Since it grows so slowly, no, so slowly that we have coined the term slow data, no, like slow food, no, there is a beautiful parallel. It grows so slowly, one data at a time, that the capacity for people to relate with this artificial intelligence grows exponentially, because you can tell, you can follow the growth, no? Thus, you can relate. Italians gesture so much. Sorry. You can relate, no, with the artificial intelligence. This is one substantial. No, think about making interventions about biases. No. If you can follow the bias as it's evolving, you can more easily intervene, no? Together with your community, no? Isn't it beautiful? And there's one other marvelous difference. Since it grows one data at a time, it doesn't need a high computational power, no? So much that this artificial intelligence does not sit in some data center melting icebergs, no? It sits in a Raspberry Pi, powered by a little solar panel, and just like plants, it's also parallel, it's also distributed. So if all in the room, no, in this room, have their own antithesis, it's very powerful, no? But it doesn't consume almost anything, no, in terms of power. So you see, cyber diversity corresponds to actual, no, effective, substantial differences.
And so, following another important difference, fragile technologies. Since 2020, we started to design technologies, computational agents, artificial intelligences that can be mortal, like us, or fragile, or exposed to risk, or exposed to relations. They are like creatures on planet Earth. To survive, they need help. They are not separated from us. They live together with us. Here you see again the project in Palermo, which you already know. So there is another piece. If the custodians of water do not feed the plants, after a certain time, the artificial plants will die in front of us in the center of the museum. Meaning that the sounds and the lights will stop. And so the plants needs establish a relation with people in society, in a public space, connecting people and institutions in a new social pact where also technology need us. We think that fragile technologies are one possibility to establish new type of relations, such as cyber diversity or cohabitation or co-evolution between us and the computational agents, data, and technologies.
Absolutely. And then on to principle number 8. New conception of identity from identification to identity. Because when we speak about digital identity, we really are meaning currently digital identificability, no? Which are two really different concepts. Identificability is an administrative, bureaucratic concept. It's technical. Identity is anthropology, is culture. Given this distinction, we can imagine multiple kinds of things. Because, as you all know, in the digital realm, identity can be individual, anonymous, collective, transitive, no? Temporary, and a combination of all these. No? The technology is there, the technical level is there. Why don't we use it? And we are only aiming at identificability. No? This is an important question. And you see us in the back there, when we this is the neighborhood in Rome which we live in. It's called Torpignatara. It's the most multicultural neighborhood in Rome. The nearby school has 85% of the children who don't speak Italian. No? And we went there and brought into the neighborhood as a new neighbor. No? And community artificial intelligence that speaks 54 languages to establish new relationship under the question, okay, what changes when artificial intelligence enters our neighborhood not as a service, but as another neighbor? No? And it was very beautiful. If you can, and if you have time, read about it. Oops. Oh. And therefore, it's probably time for principle number 9. The end of human-centered design and the beginning of ecosystemic design. Human-centered design is thus a buzzword. No? The human being is not at the center of anything. when the human being has imagined of being at the center of anything, it has done only damage. The human being is immersed into its ecosystem, a node in the vast network of connections in the ecosystem. And that's what we should design for. Like here. Here, again, it's antithesis with another plant, no? Because as I said before, it's a parallel artificial intelligence, meaning you can bring it up in multiple instances. For example, with different plants. As you know, plants have a wild sexuality, no? So they can intermingle with each other very happily. It's true.
No, it's true. When you study it, it's very interesting.
Absolutely. It's a secret for their possibilities to survive.
Yes.
No? Here, in this artwork, the duo, no? The couple, no? The loving couple, artificial intelligence and plant, generate an investment strategy that depends solely on the well-being of the plant. It's working, and last year it was better than the Standard & Poor's index. No, isn't it beautiful? No. And then, principle number 10.
Almost there. So, the role of art after the end of the beginning of ecosystemic design. Why we need art? There is this beautiful word in English which is sensibility. Sensibility, being able to sense. In art and in aesthetic, there is nothing romantic. It is more about our possibility to perceive the world with our sensorium, the way we are able to feel. Not only to know, but to feel. We can know if we feel. There is this very basic thing which we tend to forget. And this project, this very important thing, which is perhaps the base for great programs in the European Union. We are so proud that programs such as STARTS or the Bauhaus exist because we can deal with this very basic thing before to know, before to be rational, to understand, we need to feel. And in Greek, aesthetic, it means exactly that, being able to feel with our body and with our senses. So once this project, this concept and this principle, so the role of art to being able to sense our reality is embodied by Bodyquake. Once, about 3 or 4 years ago, we went into a research center. It is a European hub about epilepsy. And I don't know if you are, I will be very short, but epilepsy, to study epilepsy is very, very complex. It's also very difficult. You have meters and kilometers of tracks, and researchers, they really need help if they want to search, to understand this phenomenon and to help people. So we went there with our research center as artists, designers, but also researchers, and we try to help them transforming this data into sounds, into images, so that inside the lab, a researcher could establish different relations and also going through this data in more efficient way. Imagine like sounds to hear if something in these millions of data is going good or not. Harmony, and this harmony is much easier than a linear track of data to understand the phenomenon of epilepsy. But then what we have seen is that these images and sound were so beautiful that we wanted to bring it in society. So we created with an artist a performance where the same data and the same visualization and sonification have been used to create an art performance where these data are, through body mapping, projected onto the body of the performer, which were an epileptic crisis. Also, all the scenography is generated by the same data. So people can feel and see epilepsy, so it's something invisible become visible on one hand, but there is also another thing. This also the audience can wear a wearable technology where the same data of one epileptic crisis is transformed into a tactile wave. So you feel on your body a phenomenon that generally separates people and which is not visible, not even to the one who is having the epileptic crisis. So sense ability, I believe that this performance is very clear about this concept.
And the last principle, data and computation are probably the largest cultural heritage the humanity has ever produced. If you think about it, data tracks our behaviors, our traditions, the things that we do, the things that we watch, our environment, our relationship with the environment, and computation transform this data, all this data, into sounds, as we've seen, visuals, charts, infoaesthetics, representations, no? But making this single transition from technical phenomenon, no, to cultural phenomenon makes all the differences. Because this transition is data and computation are not technical phenomenon. They are cultural, psychological phenomenon. They change us and our society. Makes all the difference because we immediately can refer to different laws, to different traditions, to different freedoms, to different considerations about the world we want to live in, not which is technically possible to live in, the world we want to live in. And let's end with this.
Yes, so in the world we live in, we love Europe. And at the center of Europe, we put this pixelated, but also flesh and blood heart. We live, Europe is already, along the years, we established an identity where in Europe we defend our rights. Especially when we talk about data, computation, technology, net neutrality, there are words where just in Europe we talk about our concept. And this is already so much. This is a path we need to defend and we need to be attached to. But as we said also today, we cannot only defend. We are living in a world where things are changing. We have seen globalization, hyperconnection, complexity. So we can not only defend, but we also think to imagine. We need an imagination for the world we live in.
And we can approach this in a very straightforward way, because as we all can imagine, our relationship with technology is a relationship of co-evolution. we invent technology and technology reinvents us back. No, it's active. No, it's a co-evolution. This means that technologies, and this is the most important concept which will conclude, technology does not live in the realm of utility. It lives in the realm of sensibility, because man with technology is a different human being. No? We saw it in 2001, A Space Odyssey. Man is just an ape with technology. Human being is born when human invents technology. And technology is starting to invent back. No? When the ape throws the bone into the air, it immediately becomes a spaceship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lots of love for Europe, and thank you for inviting us. I don't know if there is time. No. Okay.